Clearly have not done this in a very long time. Oh, come on. I'm hoping it's like riding a bike where, it'll come back to you eventually. In this video, I will be covering some miscellaneous ground by answering some subscriber questions in honor of my very late 1,000 subscriber Q&A, Ask Me Anything type of video. Let's do it! I feel like I have to say long time no see because I haven't filmed a face-to-face video since the 20th of August. I have filmed since then, but everything has been top down where I don't show my face. So I figured it was about time I put myself back on camera, and what better video to do this than to answer subscriber questions in honor of me acquiring 1,000 subscribers on this channel. That's actually a bit outdated. I hit that milestone on August 30th. August 30th, 2023, I reached the 1,000 subscriber milestone and then proceeded to make the decision to monetize my channel, which I have done. And then I posted in my community tab that I would do like an Ask Me Anything type of Q&A in honor of that. This is very late. So better late than never, though. I just got new tires put on my car, and I thought about doing this there, but there are a lot of noises at tire shops, and I just didn't think that would be very conducive to me just hanging out and talking to you. So I decided to come up to the local community college, which is nearby, and just park in the visitor parking lot and be surrounded by all this autumnal loveliness behind me. Autumn is hands down my favorite season. I am a Scorpio sun. My birthday was actually yesterday on the 3rd. And autumn is it's my time. It's when I feel like I come alive. Before I answer questions from subscribers, I do feel like I just want to quickly address why I haven't been showing my face on camera. I won't go into it too terribly much, but I might at a later time if I feel called to discuss it. Basically, in a nutshell, I had a really difficult summer, mentally and emotionally, especially toward the latter part of the season. My son went to Marine Corps boot camp, and when he left, that was a lot harder on me than I realized it would be. And I kind of had a bit of a breakdown. Not a serious one, I'm fine. But I went to film face to face, and I had to turn the camera off because I couldn't do it. I had a lot of just so much anxiety. I just kept stuttering over my words, and I could not speak. There was nobody watching me. It was just me and the camera, but I couldn't do it. And I knew when I get in a place like that, that's when I know it's time to just step back and recenter myself and just prioritize work, moving through, not dealing with the anxiety, but processing it and moving through it, and which is what I did, sort of, which is why you haven't seen me on camera for over 2 months. My anxiety was heightened when I got a call from San Diego saying my son had been injured and he was going to medical, and communication was spotty. I heard from him once a week, sometimes not even that. And there was just a lot of unknown, and he was not in a good place mentally or emotionally. He went from being immersed in the activities of Marine Corps boot camp during drill and just everyday life to doing absolutely nothing because he was hurt. And that it was really, really affecting him in a not so good way. He was going mentally and emotionally stir crazy. He's a very cerebral kid, and he's a fast thinker and processor, and not being active, just, it wasn't a good thing for him. And so I was worried constantly, every moment of every day, just how he was doing. And then finally I got a call from him saying that he was being separated and released and he was coming home. And after that, I started to feel a little bit better, just because there was progress of some kind being made. And so once that point happened, things started to get better, but there were still a lot of unknown, and I was still having a hard time. But eventually he did get home, and then things really started to get better. He's been home for just over a month, barely a month. He's healing well. He had an ankle injury, a pretty severe one. If he went back to training, the odds of recurrence were really high. And so they cut him loose so he could heal up. And he has the option to re-enlist in 6 months. He may or may not take that option. We'll see. He's exploring a lot of different things right now, which is totally fine. He's 18 and has lots of possibilities. So that essentially is just, and plus I just don't, I've talked about this before, I just don't do well in summer. Summer is not my time. I don't do well in heat. I don't do well with extended periods of daylight, which might sound odd, but deep down in my core, I'm a child of darkness, and I need me some more darkness than summer offers. And that's why this time for me is really, really good, just because it's a little more balanced. So things are better. My anxiety has tapered off. I'm still struggling more than I anticipated I would, but I think a lot of that is just sort of residual energy, and some of it I think is also some habitual patterns that kind of kicked in while all of this was going on, and it's just a matter of me moving through that and sort of transitioning back to a state of being where I don't have to worry so much, and that's improving and getting better. So long story short, mentally and emotionally, I was spent, and I had a hard time putting my face on camera without nearly hyperventilating. So I decided to not, induce panic attacks on myself constantly by trying to film a face-to-face video. So I just stopped. But I still wanted to make content, and I did. And I did some top-down stuff that in between the time of my last face-to-face video and this one. So I was still putting out content but not showing my face. But for me, it was a good compromise. I didn't want to get out of the pattern and the rhythm of making content. So I did the next best thing and kind of found some middle ground. So that was a bit about that. And now I will do subscriber questions. If you asked me a question in that post, thank you very, very much. I got some really, really good ones, and I wrote them down in my traveler's notebook that I have been gushing ad nauseum about in the past several videos. I did a whole video actually about how my notebooks were helping me deal with anxiety. And ironically, that's the video that pushed my subscriber count over that 1,000 mark, because I was kind of stagnant at like in the 990s for weeks. I was just kind of lingering there, and then I posted that video, and all of a sudden the algorithm picked it up, and it started getting like hundreds of views every day, which absolutely stunned me. It was just a random thing I put together. I was just trying to verbalize how this process was going, and how just going analog and sort of not totally getting rid of digital stuff, but just being an analog more than digital was really helping me settle into things. And apparently it resonated with some people, because started getting a lot of views, and I went over that 1,000 subscriber mark not long after, and I kept going up. So at this point in time, this was supposed to be in honor of 1,000 subscribers. I hit that milestone on August 30th. Today is November 4th. Today is also my 1-year video anniversary. I don't even know if that's a term. It's not my channel anniversary because technically I created the channel in October, but I posted my first video on November 4th of 2022. And so this is my 1 year. So it feels kind of appropriate to do this on this day because I'm covering lots of ground here. I'm covering my 1 year on YouTube and the 1,000 subscriber kind of thing all at once. But at this point in time, I have 1,163 subscribers as of today, November 4th, 2023. If you are one of those 1,163 lovely people, thank you. I've gotten so much support and just lovely comments and and I've had lovely interactions with so many different types of people since I've started this channel, and it's just been an amazing experience, and I did not anticipate reaching this point so soon. I had no expectations. None, zero. I kept expectations at like very little to like absolutely none. I was just going to make videos about whatever I felt like talking about and post them whenever I could and see what happened. And now I'm here with a monetized channel 1 year late, which is just, it's mind blowing to me. And it's such an amazing thing. And I just appreciate, all of you so very much. So thank you. Okay, now I'm really gonna answer questions now. Okay, question number 1 comes from Lily So 8633. I hope I said that right. So this question is, do you use tarot to help you at work dealing with kids and their parents, or do you strictly reserve it for personal development or as a spiritual practice? The context of that question is that I work in public education, so I'm pretty sure that was the lens through which this person was framing their question. And the answer to that is I use tarot for whatever I feel like I need to use it for. Sometimes it is work related. Not often. That when I first started, actually, I did a lot of work related stuff, but now is more, it's deeper, more introspective stuff, I suppose, than, what I did when I first started. I still do like career oriented readings, but as far as like dealing with kids and their parents, not really. I have done a few readings where I'm always considering the question, how can I be a better educator? Because in the end, it's all me. It's personal responsibility, and I can't control what's going on around me to a large extent, but I can control how I react to it. So tarot has been really great as far as giving me new perspectives on how to react and respond. And when it comes, as far as tarot goes, I always bring it back to me, because in the end, I make my own choices and I live my own life. And so I am taking responsibility for what goes on there. So in a way, yes, I do use it largely for personal development. That's probably the biggest avenue through which I use the cards. I'm always considering different perspectives on how to be a better person and look at things differently from, multiple perspectives. And I like thinking about things in a myriad of ways, just because it helps keep me from getting stagnant and overly rigid in my perspective. And I think when working with young people and working in a public arena, I think that's really important, just because you are dealing with a wide variety of factors. You're dealing with culture variation. You're dealing with trauma you are dealing with, various socioeconomic backgrounds. There's a lot going on when you're working with kids in a public setting, such as education. So I'm always looking for ways to broaden perspective. That was a very long-winded answer. I hope it covered that question. So largely for personal development, spiritual to an extent, but not as much as I think others might use it for. Largely for from that personal development lens, I would say, is how I use tarot the most. Next questions. There are 3 from the same person. So Ivy's Grove. Hi. Ivy's Grove asked the questions: what deck surprised you? When did you get into tarot? What was the first deck you ever purchased? As far as a deck that surprised me, I would say maybe lately it's been the Field Tarot. I've done quite a bit of work with that deck in the last probably 6 months. I did a video. What video was that? The One Deck Gone Wild VR. I featured the Field Tarot in that video. I trimmed it and edged it and kind of made it my own, and it really came alive for me in a way that I didn't expect. So I suppose as far as tarots I've used recently, I would say probably the Field Tarot. For when did you first get into tarot? I first started using the cards in 2019, late 2019. I did a video actually about that. It was a VR mashup video, and part of it was my tarot origin story. I'll try to remember to link that because I cover a lot of ground there. So 2019, I knew about tarot and of tarot and what tarot was, of course, before that. But as far as me actually engaging with it as a practice, September 2019, which was great actually because it prepared me for the shitstorm that was 2020 and 2021. And had I not had tarot during those times, I think my life would have been a lot more challenging. So I was grateful for that timing. And then what was the first deck you ever purchased? That would be the Borderless Smith-Waite Centennial. I feature that deck in that VR mashup video as well. So I go into more detail on that. So that answers those questions. So Field Tarot is the deck that surprised me. I got into tarot in 2019 in September, and the Borderless Centennial Smith-Waite by US Games. That was my first deck I ever purchased. No, I take that back. That was my first tarot that I ever purchased. The first deck I ever purchased, divination style deck that I ever purchased, is actually the Hedgewitch Botanical Oracle, and I talk about that deck in that video as well. So that was my first deck. My first tarot was the Smith-Waite Borderless. So, okay, I think that answers that. Question from Mermaid Rising Tarot. Was there something that sparked in your life an event or something to set you on this path? Nothing like overly specific. I go into this in that video as well, that VR mashup. I was looking for a way to expand my journaling practice and sort of engage with it in a different way. And I had read an article, and I still, for the life of me, cannot find that article that I read about journaling with oracle cards. And I really, really wish I would have saved it. It's not like me to not save things like that, but for some reason I just didn't. And I don't know the source of that article. I will keep, it might have been taken down, but I will keep searching for it because it's kind of driven me nuts as far as not being able to remember. So bringing cards in as a complement to my journaling was kind of what prompted me to get into cards in the first place. It was related to my journaling practice. But I had been practicing divination without really realizing it since I was a kid. Just when I think back, in hindsight, and all of the things that I have done that actually would count as divination, it's like I can go back to very, very little girlhood and really kind of solidifying certain things in my early adolescence, like middle school age, like the age range I work with now, like 11, 12, 13, sort of in that age. A lot of things like working with cledons, especially. I did a video about that as well. I'll try to remember to link that. But that was a thing for me in my young teenage years. And I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't know that's what that was, but it was a practice I engaged in, and found it helpful, but I didn't know what it was called, until years later. So I've been doing divination of some form. I was very little. And for context, I'm 42. I turned 42 yesterday. So there you go. So thank you, Mermaid Rising Tarot, for that question. Angel159 asks, what does your son think of your tarot practice? He's pretty indifferent to it. Actually, he knows that I engage with cards, and he has an idea of kind of why I do it, because he and I are kind of similar in that we are thinkers. Both of us, we come about it in a bit of a different way, but we are both analytical, deep thinking people. And so he kind of understands through that. He views my tarot practice like I view his NASCAR interest, sort of. It's like, it's there, and, it's cool and all, but, I'm not really going to engage with it. That's kind of how it is. It's definitely something that he's aware of, but has no interest in engaging with, which is totally fine. So I think that answers that question. Relatively indifferent, but still supportive at the same time, if that makes sense. And the last question comes from Gray Lady 1958. Hello. How did your spiritual journey begin, and how did it evolve? That is a big question. I thought a lot about this. It's like, when did I first start becoming aware of like spiritual things and kind of what that meant to me? And from a very young age, I knew, I always had this feeling that I was connected to something bigger and somewhat more objective, I suppose, than myself. I always had this feeling. It's like I'm a little ant on a little rock in a great big place, and but us as people, we as people are still amazing things. We are this big amazing thing. We are a very advanced organism, advanced life form, but in the grand scheme of things, we're pretty small. And I remember having that sense at a very young age, and I did a lot of sort of exploring different religions. Not from a practicing standpoint, but just as an interest, like, is it from a comparative standpoint? I did a lot of that in my teens. I dated a guy in my late teens, like when I was 19, 20, and he was raised Roman Catholic, but he considered himself a neo-pagan. He explored a lot of various traditions. He explored Druidry and Asatru. He was very into Celtic paganism. So he kind of had that background and sort of exposed me to paganism kind of as an approach and a religion and a practice and a belief system. And then I discovered a lot of the different isms that I didn't really know were a thing until later, like what monotheism was versus polytheism versus dualism versus all the other isms. And then I came across the term panentheism. Not pantheism, although, that's a thing too, but panentheism with the en in the middle. And that framework of conceptualizing deity has never left me. So essentially, panentheism posits that a supreme being is within everything, but also outside and beyond everything. So it's like for me, that's a very like as above, so below kind of thing. And that kind of conceptual framework of deity has always kind of stuck with me, has never really left. So as far as how I conceptualize deity, I guess I'm a panentheist in that regard. But there have been some things lately that I have been exploring that I never thought would ever connect with me. It's just some content I think I will be making in the future, just because it's interesting and I want to talk about it. And it concerns deity and facets of deity and perspectives of deity and deity in different forms. And yeah, I will get there eventually, but I'm still kind of working through some material. So yeah, so my I suppose it started by just knowing intrinsically that I was this really cool thing as a human, but I was also this very small thing in a very, very, very big universe. And feeling that was a thing and just trying to connect with that in any way I can. And then as I got older, exploring different religions and then being exposed to different traditions and ways of conceptualizing deity. And yeah, and then divination, once I discovered once tarot kind of made its way into my life, I started using divination sort of as a tool in that process. So, yeah, I think that answers that. I don't know. But that's how I feel called to answer that question at this time. I did go through a period of time where I considered myself a bit agnostic, but agnostic in the sense that I wanted to remain open to possibility. And I'm still like that to an extent. I'm agnostic in my outlook on a lot of different things, I suppose. But not completely closed off, but not claiming to know all the things either. So yeah, there's that. Those are the questions that I received. They were very good questions, and it made me think about things in a deeper and more meaningful way. So thank you to those who submitted those questions. Any of the videos that I mentioned, I will try to remember to link the VR mashup video and the Cleat-On video. I will try to remember to link those. This video is messy and really all over the place, but I'm working on getting my groove back. I'm getting it back, so bear with me. So I'm going to actually maybe just sit here and enjoy all of the color and cozy up with my eggnog latte for a couple of minutes and just enjoy the quiet. I've had next to no quiet over the last 3 weeks. At my school, I was doing 2 fundraisers at the same time. I chaired and led an event that lasted for a week. And then I had a club fundraiser that I was doing. And then that was just on top of all my other work stuff. Our students had a social event last night. I attended that. And it's just been, haven't had a lot of quiet time. So I'm going to enjoy the quiet time for a couple of minutes and look at the beautiful colors because I love it so much. Okay, that's all for this one. Until my next video, take care and be well.